What's going on, everybody? It's Team America, Dual Throw Outdoors. What I'm here to talk about today is the situations when to fish one of my favorite baits, especially for summertime smallmouth fishing and largemouth too, is when to fish the Gary Yamamoto Hula Grub. Now, what the Hula Grub basically is basically an all plastic jig. So basically what it does, as you can see here, this happens to be green pumpkin, purple copper. It basically combines a double-tailed grub with a plastic skirt for the jig. So it doesn't quite have the undulatility of a normal jig, but still gets to that extra motion there with those tentacles, and obviously the double-tailed grubs, which I'm going to talk about here. So when do you fish the Hula Grub? Well, for me, a time I don't really fish is cold water. You know, cold water, I like a much more dull jig trailer, like a chunk, something that doesn't really move that much, something that's almost like a do-nothing plastic. So that's where I really want to dope fish. But once the water starts hitting 50 or 60, I'm going to work this in the arsenal. Now, for me, when this shines the most is the summertime. Now, water's over 70s, because when you throw that out there, those double tails are going like this, and they're making a lot of commotion in the water. And to the fish, it still looks natural. Still looks like a crayfish, you know, in defense mode, and bass eat it. It just gets eaten. So for me, summertime, and I'm usually, ideally, if I'm fishing and jigging off the bottom, I prefer like that 4 to 8 foot of water. I mean, I can get away with 2 to 3 foot, but 4 to 8 seems to be about perfect for an 1/8 ounce head. Basically the same head you'd have on a spider grub. So pretty self-explanatory there. And then another time I fish it is also summertime, is feeding time, but not necessarily jigging it. In that lower 2 to 4 foot zone, this makes a great, basically a finesse swim bait. You just throw that out there, you just give that, you just slowly reel that, and those arms are going like this, making, like looking like a crawfish escaping. Really catch a lot doing that too. If I see they're aggressive, I'll just start throwing out a reel, especially during feeding times. But for me, this is like 90% exclusively summer bait, because it's a bait with a lot of action. And like I said, the warmer the water, the more you want that action. And even when you're throwing it out there and just kind of dragging it, that motion still really gets the fish to bite. So it's a really nice crossover between just a double-tailed grub and basically a jig. So just a great bait that I don't think a lot of people throw. I know some people throw it, but it's definitely locally doesn't have the popularity of tube or Senko. And outside of locally, like when I fish lake tournaments out of the area, it's not like I throw this either. So summertime is a huge situation. Now you can also up your head size back to the first situation, when you're just dragging the bottom up to like 3/16 or quarter and getting into that 10 to 15 foot range. You know, I'm throwing this a lot on rocks, dragging it over the rocks, popping it out. So, and I also noticed too, like, you know, compared to like other finesse baits like a Ned rig, probably not even with the sink in here, but compared to like the Ned rig and like smaller tubes, this does catch you a bigger average fish. You catch a lot of mid to high 2s on it, some 3-pounders. I mean, and the versatility is just great. Like I said, you can drag this, you can hop it, and you can basically fish like a swim jig. So if you don't have any, check out the 4-inch Gary Yamamoto Hula Grub. And like I said, for the summertime arsenal, for me, I can't do without it. So, and that's pretty much when it gets the attention. So it's Team America coming to you, telling you about situations where you're going to fish the Gary Yamamoto 4-inch Hula Grub. Thank you for watching this Dual Throw Outdoors video. If you like this video, be sure to leave it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more Dual Throw Outdoors content.